Introspection is the process of examining our own conscious thoughts, emotions, motives, and intentions. Introspection illusion is our confident belief that we have direct access to our own mental processes and thoughts, and that we can accurately introspect or self-reflect on our own internal experiences. However, the majority of those mental processes remain largely unavailable for our conscious interpretation. The information processing capacity of our conscious mind is estimated to be around 120 bits per second. This capacity represents the maximum speed at which we can consciously process information at any given moment. In order for something to become part of our conscious experience, we need to consciously focus on it. However, a significant amount of information processing happens below the threshold of our conscious awareness. The catch is that we are unaware of our own lack of awareness. As a result, while introspection feels like we're simply observing our inner intentions, it's largely an inference about our intentions rather than a true reflection of them. Moreover, we have exclusive access only to our own introspections, not those of others. This leads us to overestimate the value of our own introspective insights, adding another layer to the introspection illusion. A decision we make can often be predicted even before we are consciously aware that we've made it. One decision-making process is called gut feeling or intuition. This process is like an internal compass guiding us rapidly and primarily through non-conscious channels. It allows us to make decisions without an exhaustive search for information, evidence, or data. This intuitive process is a mental shortcut, fine-tuned through thousands of years of human history. Our ancestors, faced with immediate dangers and an urgent need to make fast decisions, have passed down this intuitive decision-making ability. Today, this intuitive process is at work in our everyday lives, driving our decisions on what to wear, what to eat, or even which route to take to work. It's a non-conscious mental tool that is always in operation, silently guiding us through many decisions we face every day. What's even more interesting is how we rationalize our decisions after we've already made a decision. When asked to explain our decisions, our brains create post hoc or after-the-fact explanations. Those justifications are all based on what makes it into our consciousness, but the reality is that the action and the feelings happen before we are consciously aware of them, and most of them are the results of non-conscious process which will never make it into explanations. Conscious rationalization then only has access to the information that has made its way into our conscious awareness. But in the complexity of the human brain, the non-conscious state is a significantly robust part of the consciousness network. This means that no matter how hard we strive for self-understanding, certain mental and emotional processes are likely to remain non-conscious, forever residing below the threshold of our conscious awareness. The vast depths of our mind remains a mystery to us. In one study, 120 participants were shown 15 pairs of photographs, each pair featuring 2 women. The participants' task was to determine which woman in each pair they found more attractive. After making their choice, they were given photographs of the chosen woman to examine more closely and were asked to articulate the reasons behind their preference. However, there was a twist. Without the participants knowing it, the researchers switched the photograph they had initially selected with the one they had rejected. Remarkably, participants failed to notice the switch in about 75% of the cases. This held true even when the two photographs were substantially different. At the end of the experiment, the participants were asked a hypothetical question. If you were to participate in a study where the photo you had chosen was secretively switched with the one you had rejected, would you notice the change? About 84% of the participants confidently stated they would easily spot the change. Ironically, they had just unwittingly failed to do so. Moreover, the participants even generated post hoc explanations to justify why they thought the photograph they had originally rejected more appealing than their initial choice. For example, one participant insisted he had chosen the photo of a beaming girl wearing jewelry because she was radiant and that he would have approached her over the other woman in the social setting due to his preference for earrings. In reality, he had not chosen the smiling girl with earrings at all. He was caught up in the introspection illusion, crafting an after-the-fact narrative to make sense of his choice. He thought he had a clear, direct access to his inner preferences and intentions, but he was mistaken. He was not alone in this. We all have a tendency to fabricate post hoc rationalization for preferences and intentions we do not actually have. In the process of making important decisions, we often spend a lot of time listing the pros and cons of each option. We engage in a mental tug of war, going back and forth over each option repeatedly until a decision is finally reached. Once that decision is made, we are usually prepared and even eager to provide a well-articulated rationale to anyone willing to listen. However, overthinking can sometimes lead to less optimal judgments. This is because excessive deliberation can actually reduce the consistency of our preferences. The painstaking effort we put in dissecting the reasons behind our values and preferences may inadvertently steer us away from what we truly want and believe in. The very act of deliberation and analysis intended to clarify our thoughts may instead introduce confusion and uncertainty. Overthinking could end up muddying the waters, causing us to deviate from our initial inclinations and instinctive preferences. Imagine painstakingly building a ship, only to realize that it's drifting away from its true north. We tend to apply a hypercritical set of standards when it comes to deception. We judge the dishonesty of others more severely than our own, often rationalizing our lives with good intentions or contextual justification. It's a form of self-deception to believe that we are the victims of others' misjudgments, and any criticism or negative perception is misinformed or malicious, and my perception is my reality. This self-deceptive thinking can protect our self-esteem, but also prevent self-awareness and personal growth. Our decisions and behaviors can be seen differently by different people, leading to diverse perspectives that may not align with how we perceive ourselves. It's like looking at a beautiful landscape. Some see rolling hills and vibrant sunsets, while others notice hidden valleys and playful shadows. So while we may have a particular view of ourselves, it's important to remember that others may see us in unique and surprising ways. adding richness and depth to our self-perception. Embrace the diversity of perspectives. It's what makes us all wonderful human. When you claim that your decision-making process is objective and free from bias, you may be falling into the trap of the introspection illusion. It's like believing you hold the key to a secret vault in your mind, giving you full access to all your thoughts and motivations. But in reality, that's not the case. Given that our brains are naturally inclined to simplify complex decision-making processes, true, unbiased decisions are essentially a myth. So that notion of a completely unbiased decision, it's more of a mirage than a reality. Every decision we make is a colorful blend of mental shortcuts and past experiences, shaping our choices whether we're consciously aware of it or not. So next time you're about to boast about your unbiased decisions, remember, even the most well-intentioned choices carry traces of our biases and past experiences. Start observing your decision-making process and those of others around you. See if you can spot instances of introspection illusion. Please feel free to share your comments below. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.